Hello students, welcome to Sri Jayendra's Ring Zone classes. I'm your friend and mentor for coming classes with respect to physics. This is lecture number 3 of a unit nuclei. Let's begin with today's class. First, we are going to discuss about the nuclear fission. So when we discuss about the nuclear energy, basically it's a two different process. One is the nuclear fission and the another it's a nuclear fusion. So when heavy nucleus decays into two or more intermediate mass fragments, that is what we call as a fission. And it's a reverse of that. It's when light nuclei fuse into a heavier nuclear. It is what we call as the fusion. So when we say nuclear fission, it is the phenomenon of splitting off. It is the phenomenon of splitting of heavy nucleus into smaller nuclei which with liberation of energy, that is what we call as the nuclear fission. So this is the situation, this is the neutron and this is the target nuclei, and when this neutron is being bombarded on this target nuclei, we are having a certain fission products and certain number of neutrons too. So it's a radioactive decay can be induced by a collision between two nuclei or by the collision of a neutron with a nuclei. Let's take an example that when 92U235, it's a uranium 235, collides with a neutron or neutron has been bombarded on the uranium, the main products are two nuclei, both roughly half of the size of the original parent nuclei. So this is the relation for it. It's a uranium 235 plus 0 and 1, it's a neutron, will give me a barium plus krypton plus 3 neutrons plus energy, and that energy would be of 200 mega electron volt per cycle. So the projectiles used to boundary a heavy nucleus need not be a neutron, and it can be a proton which is 6.9 MeV, or deuteron, or that is of 8 MeV, or of an alpha particle that is of 32 MeV. So this is the features of fission reaction. There can be many different possible reaction products, and the reaction produces more free neutrons than it uses. So this free neutrons can then induce fission in other nearby uranium nuclei, and that is creating a chain reaction, and this reaction releases again energy. So the extra binding energy is released in the form of the gamma rays and through the kinetic energies of the particles that are being produced. Let's calculate what amount of energy can be released from the fission. The binding energy per nucleon of uranium 235 is about 7.6 MeV. For many of the products, the binding energy is about 8.5 MeV, and the difference is of 0.9 MeV. Since there are 235 nucleons, the total energy per nucleus is about 210 MeV, and for 1 gram of pure uranium, this would correspond to a total energy of about 9 into 10 to the power 10 joule. So for comparison, you can use this, that the 1 gram of TNT can release about 4200 joule, but this is 10 to the power 10. Forget about 4 2 and everything. It's this is 10 to power 2 for the 42, or let's say 10 to the power 3 if I take 4.2. yes, it is 4.2 into 10 to the power 3. This is 10 to the power 10. So it is a huge amount and huge source of energy. That is what we are going to hold if we use fission in a correct manner. Let's look at quick questions. When lighter nuclei fuses into a heavier nucleus, it is what we call as the fusion. When heavy nucleus decays into two or more intermediate mass fragments, it is what we call as a fission. Let's discuss about the chain reaction. It is a self-sustained nuclear fission reaction without the supply of the neutrons from any external source is what we call as the chain reaction. And let's discuss the chain reaction. Basically it can be initiated if there is an availability of one slow neutrons, when we say slow neutrons, we generally talk about the thermal neutrons. By using moderator, fast neutrons can be slowed down to sustain the chain reactions, and this is generally characterized by the multiplication factor, generally denoted by K, where K is the number of neutrons at any generation divided by number of neutrons in its preceding generation. So if K is this multiplication factor, K is less than 1, this reaction is under critical. If K is equals to 1, the reaction is critical and the energy will be produced at a steady rate. And if this K, its multiplication factor is greater than 1, the reaction is supercritical, or we could say it's an explosive. So the principle of chain reaction was given by the Fermi, and explosive chain reaction is the working principle in an atomic bomb. It was first designed by Oppenheimer. So controlled chain reaction is the working principle in a nuclear reactor, and the first reactor was designed by Fermi. So basically it depends how do you use it. Yes, if you are using this chain reaction in a controlled manner, then it is a nuclear reactor, and it is creating certain good to us, certain good to human. Yes, that it will produce an enormous amount of energy, and that energy can be used in various ways. If you use this reaction in an explosive manner, then it is the atom bomb, and that can be very, very dangerous to the human society. So it depends on the situation, that how do you deal with it, whether you are using it in a controlled manner or whether you are using it in uncontrolled manner. So let's look at this example for the chain reaction. Basically this is the uranium 235, and we are going to target it with the neutrons. So when we are going to target this uranium 235 with the neutron, we have two products. One of them is the barium, another is the krypton. Yes, so when we are having this two elements, and one more thing that is what making it chain reaction is the three more neutrons would be available. So this neutron, let's say it is going to be being heated with this neutron is being heated with this, and again we are having barium and krypton, again three neutrons, and this neutrons can again collide with other uranium elements and other uranium products, and this cycle should go on. Yes, this is how chain reaction works. Let's look at certain quick questions. A self-sustained nuclear fission reaction without the supply of neutrons from any external source is what we call as the chain reaction. Next, the blank is the minimum amount of nuclear fuel material needed to sustain a chain reaction. Yes, the critical mass is the minimum amount of nuclear fuel material that is required. Let's discuss how the nuclear reactors are working. So it is a device in which controlled chain reaction take place that releases large amount of heat energy, and it also converts heat energy into the electrical energy. So basic principle behind any nuclear reactor is that nuclear reactor works under the principle of nuclear chain reaction. The chain reaction is made possible by slowing down the fission neutrons that using moderators. So this is how you can see this schematic diagram of the nuclear reactors. We are having the control rods. We are going to see the functioning of each of them one by one, but let's have a look. This is the fissile uranium, this one is the moderator, and as we understood that this will produce an enormous amount of energy, and this enormous amount of energy can produce a very high temperature. So to cool down this, we are using heat removal, we are using the water to make this system cooler, because if this is not being done and its temperature is not being reduced, then this can create again a bomb blast kind of thing. Yes, so this is how the nuclear reactor may look alike. The thermal neutrons produces the further fission of U-235, and the essential feature of a nuclear reactors are the fuel, moderators, controlling rods, radiation shielding, and the reflectors and the coolant. So this is basically the core, and this are the control rods, and from this a reflection arises, and this is the coolant which keep cool the complete system. And this is how we are going to produce the energy, and now whatever the amount of energy we are going to receive, that will be used. So what is used as a fuel? Nuclear fission take place in the core of the reactor, and this core of the reactor contains enriched uranium as a fuel in suitable fabricated form, and the fuel rods are tightly sealed in the aluminum cylinders. In breeder reactor, a non-fissionable U-238 is converting into fissionable material, and that produces more than consumed. So generally enriched uranium contains 90% of U-235. Moderator, they are the core that contains a moderator used to slow down the fast moving neutrons. Generally heavy water or graphite rods are used as the moderator. Next, control rods. The chain reaction inside the reactor can be controlled by inserting the controlling rods into the nuclear reactor. We can say boron or cadmium rods are used as a controlling rods, which are having high absorption of neutrons. As a coolant, we are using a large amount of heat is developed in the reactor due to this chain reaction, and this heat is removed by using suitable constant like a water or molten sodium etc. are used to make it cool. Next is the radiation shielding and the reflectors. The core is surrounded by the reflectors to reflect escaped electrons which do not participate in the fission process, and to protect from the harmful radiations, a thick walls of cement or concrete, steel and lead are provided around the reactors. The heat that is generated is used for heating water, and that is used to producing a stream, and the steam that will rotates the turbine and it will generate electricity for us. That is how we are using energy of nuclear fission in a certain way which can create certain good thing for a human being. Let's look at quick questions. The control rods in a nuclear reactors are made up of, yes, boron, yes, cadmium, yes, uranium, no. So both A and B should be the correct answer. Next, it's the chain reaction. The chain reaction is made possible by slowing down the fusion neutrons using the moderators. I hope this is clear. So let's discuss about the nuclear fusion. So when we say fusion reactions, we can say in nuclear fusion two or more unstable smaller nuclei join together to produce one stable new particle. And for an example, it's a 4 1H1 will give me a 2He4 plus 2 1E0 plus 26.7 MeV amount of energy. This energy released is about 6 MeV per nucleon because it's a total of 26.7. So this has more energy per nucleon. This is more energy per nucleon than even the fission process. So it's a 0.7 percentage of the total mass of the reactants is converted into the energy in both the cycles, and the total amount of energy that is released is 26.7 MeV, or we can say energy released per nucleon is about 6 MeV. In stars whose interior temperatures are less than that of the sun, proton-proton cycle takes place. In stars whose interior temperature are greater than that of the sun, carbon-nitrogen cycles generally take place. And in sun, both the cycles occur with equal probabilities. So nuclear fusion is the process by which energy is being emitted by the stars. Hydrogen nuclei are fused to form helium nuclei, and these heavier elements can also be formed by the fusion. Fusion reactions can take place in the sun due to the high temperature and pressures in the core, and to produce the fusion on the earth, you have to give the nuclei high energy and keep them close together at higher temperature, generally greater than 10 to the power 6 Kelvin. Hence they are called as the thermonuclear reaction. So now let's compare nuclear fission and nuclear fusion. So in nuclear fission, neutrons are required for it. In nuclear fusion, protons or deuterons are required for it. In nuclear fission, it is possible at normal pressure and temperature. This is possible. Nuclear fusion is possible at higher pressure and higher temperature only. In nuclear fission, energy release per nucleon it's a zero point 0.9 MeV. And the nuclear fusion energy release per nucleon is approximately 7 MeV. In nuclear fission, percentage of mass getting converted into energy it's a 0.1 percentage, and in nuclear fission, percentage of mass getting converted into energy it's a 0.7%. Fissionable materials are expensive one, but the fusion materials are very cheap. It's an hydrogen and helium. Yes, that almost costs nothing. I hope this is clear. Let's look at quick questions. In blank, two or more unstable nuclei join together to produce one stable new particle. Yes, in the nuclear fission this will happen. Next, when fusion is achieved by rising the temperature of the system so that particles have enough kinetic energy to overcome the Coulomb's repulsive behavior, that is what we call as a thermonuclear fusion. I hope this is clear. So let's wind up this session over here. This was all about the nuclear processes. It is all about the nuclear fusion and nuclear fission. Both are having its own advantages and disadvantages, but that is fact that this is a very huge source of energy. Yes, please go through it, go through once only, and if any one of the questions can be asked, you can answer it. Thank you. Have a good day. Take care.